Welcome to another edition of the Magnolia Masters Pro Camp swim analysis. This is with Jocelyn McCauley this time. So what we're going to do is just play the video. You guys can watch, and then we'll start to kind of analyze it. Okay, so here we are back at the beginning. So, I've worked with Jocelyn a lot over the years, and we've really tried to work with her stroke and the movement that she's making, and try and find as much efficiency as we can. And look, she's done a great job of managing the fatigue over the years generated from the bike and the run, and still be able to make gains in the swim. She's probably made just about the most gains that I've ever seen in an athlete in triathlon in the swim from where she started. Um, so you can see right here, she's got a lot of stability. And remember, this is what we want to get back to, is that your ability as an athlete to generate power and efficiency in the water is all dependent on how stable you are in the water. And so you can see she's got a pretty good body line. That the head is not too far above the shoulders. Hips are pretty high. Feet are a little bit low. So I mean, in the endless pool, that means she's probably about like that. And we'll get a better view kind of when we go to the side. But she's got a pretty good water line. And is a little bit higher than this when she's swimming in the pool, because she doesn't have, as we've talked about before, the current kind of pressing down on the back end. So this looks pretty good. One of the things, we only really worked on one thing while she was here, and I'll kind of go over it at the end. But, you can see here, she could probably bring the chin up just a little bit because she's looking straight down. And it's usually a little bit better to kind of look just slightly forward. And when I mean slightly forward, I mean slightly forward. Really want to just think about trying to pull up that chin just a little bit. And what that'll do is help with that body position. It tends to kind of bring up the back end slightly. And for her right now, we only need really slightly. And then it'll relax her neck and her shoulders a little bit more. But here, she's, you can see right here, and I'll back it up. You can see right there, she's in a really good position right here. She's already got that hand kind of starting to move the water and shoot it straight back. You'll see kind of from the sensor data that we had on her, how important that kind of early vertical forearm is, or the high elbow catch that I prefer. You can see on the right, she drops her elbow just slightly, but she does a good job of trying to get that where it's starting to drive it straight back. So you can already see right here, she's already pressing the water straight back towards the wall, and then really accelerates through the pole. And that's, that's the way you want to look at it. And that's what you want to be able to see, at least in an athlete. Okay, so here we go. We'll get to the overhead. You can see right here when she breathes that creates a lot of instability in her stroke. And it's, she's rotating quite a bit to get the breath. You can see right here. The one thing that we wanted to work on was, she's got a pretty good reach right here. And what I wanted to do, so Russell Marks, who used to be the kind of high performance director for USA Swimming, he would analyze everyone's stroke and look at athletes around the world and what they were doing. And, the one thing you figure out as a coach is, you're going to learn a lot more from watching what other really, really good athletes do and how they're doing it and why, than you will just trying to come up with some brilliant new way of swimming. So he looked at some of the really good middle distance swimmers right now, so 400, 800 meter swimmers, so mid distance to distance, and what they were doing. And one of the things that he saw that he talks about is they're not reaching out as far, so there isn't as much rotation right here. How he put it was, there was just a little bit of daylight then in between kind of that deltoid and your cheek. So the more you rotate, the more likely that deltoid's going to kind of touch the cheek as you rotate through the stroke. And so that was what I worked on with her. I mean, you can see a little bit here that, that's going that direction. Feet are coming apart, but more in a vertical way there. And what we're trying to do is just create more stability. And so I figured if we could lessen the rotation a little bit through the stroke entirely, that we could get a little bit more stability and a little bit more balance through the stroke. And then if she practiced it over and over again, that we might be able to get somewhere. So that was what we did. We just worked on trying to get not as much rotation through the stroke. And here you can see kind of this crossover. It's just slight. We got a little bit of momentum going that way. I didn't really focus on that. I wanted to see if we could just get just the stroke to be maybe a little bit flatter. You can see, she's got like right here. So here's this angle right here. She's right in where she wants to be. 30 to 40 degrees right there. Even when she breathes on this side, what are we at here? Yeah, again, really, really good. That's where you want to be. Trying to keep that stability, trying to stay a little bit flatter on the water. And then here we go underneath. You can see from the front, she's got really great pull right there. You can see that armpit's open. Here's this angle right there. 100 to 110, that's where you want it to be. This could probably be moved over just slightly. She'd probably find a little bit more propulsion there, because then we'd be a little bit in line with the shoulder, because there's midline. And then let's see if we can get it on this side. So again, it looks like, this angle right here, it's a little bit probably too much open. But again, that's, she's starting to turn on the side. You can see right here, that foot, this is all drag right here. This is all kind of drag right here. There's a little bit of instability about to happen. And you can see that, this then becomes a little bit less efficient, a little bit less able to generate as much power on the water. So then the next kind of shots you're going to see is the comparison of the before and after and what we changed in terms of, just lessening that reach out in front. So you can see, the difference between the two. There's a little bit more stability. Now, she's got a lot of work to do still, and you're going to see that from the data. But there were just from the initial kind of goes, and I had some data on her from the last time she was here back in September before she raced in Kona. And, you can see that it's going in the right direction and that there is a change and there's a positive change. Now, there's some things that don't change the way you want them to. But when you're trying to get more and more efficient, it's not going to be make a change and you instantly get better. There's going to be signs that, oh, look, this looks a little bit better, but then you've got to work to make that change part of your stroke, where you don't have to think about it anymore. And the only way you can do that is from repetition. You are training the brain, you are training the body, and it's to make that movement with the fitness and the strength and conditioning needed for the water and that movement to be efficient. So it doesn't happen overnight. So you can see, here, just a little bit flatter on the water. We probably get a little bit more core engagement. And, the one thing that happens is the stroke naturally tempos up. So she's with a little bit of a higher tempo, which for her is probably a beneficial thing, especially kind of going into the open water. Okay. Here kind of is the difference. And you can see there's just not as much rotation in her body between the two. You can see the difference kind of, and it's slight, but so here's kind of the data from September. So you can see the big difference is, or the big kind of thing we're trying to overcome is, there's what the amount of power she's generating on the left. There's the right. So it's a pretty big gap. You're talking about 30%. And you can see where the right kind of dies off right here. The left looks really, really good. This is what you want to see, is this straight, narrow line going back to the back. Now, propulsion was at 41.5%. Typically, best distance swimmers in the world, you're typically 70-75%. This right here, downward, is at 47.7. Typically 15 to 20 for a distance swimmer. We want that to be as close to zero as possible. That zero, these all zero. And then that's where we're kind of getting the maximum amount of efficiency in the stroke. So this is where we were in September. So here's where we got to at the end of this session right here. So you can see propulsion is up. So we're at 57.2. You can see that actually the right now is generating more propulsion than the left, and she's right-handed. But it is very, very balanced. They're almost identical. You can see that we've made up a lot on that downward. Typically, the downward is, trying to create more stability. Hand drag was at 0. Upward was at 0. Now, this is what changed a little bit. We're throwing more out to the right and the left. And, that's going to take some time of her working to get it all to go straight back. But that's any time you change a movement pattern. The good thing, though, is that the amount of propulsion she was generating or creating went up significantly. So then we go on to kind of, here's what it looked like back in September. So you can see, there's some space in between, and that's that little bit of extra glide that she had, that we were trying to get rid of. And then, there's a difference between, the right and the left and the amount of propulsion that she's generating. Then when we go to January, so you can see, we've got a little bit here that we could probably work on, but these are a lot tighter together, the left and the right when she's swimming. And they're, a lot more similar and then generating more power overall, and it's more propulsive. So you can see that there's not much that's going kind of downward there. And then when we look at, here's kind of, this was after working on it for a few months. So Ironman New Zealand, she was first out of the water overall, and in rough conditions with a wetsuit. So, and what it sounded like from her little write-up that it wasn't only just the conditions, but that there was a lot of jostling out in the race. So I guess rubbing is racing. But yeah, so she had her one of her few first out of the water titles, and really feels like the stroke changes that we made are starting to pay off. And this is how long it can take sometimes. It can take months of a lot of practice to really kind of make it where you've got a change. but it takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of attention to the details, and doing it over and over again at a fairly uncomfortable speed, because you're trying to build that resiliency in the stroke for race day. So, as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions. And if you could like, share, comment, follow, subscribe, all of those great things help us out tremendously in allowing us to continue to deliver content to you at no charge. So thanks again, and we will hopefully see you in the pool soon.